I wish my wife could just stay buried. Then, all of Amy's assets would be mine, and I could live carefree every day.
Wow, that's so low, Nathan. Don't worry. Eventually, everything will be yours since you'll outlive her. That's the advantage of marrying older women.
True. After all, I took her in, so I should get some perks. As I listened to my husband and his family's inappropriate remarks about my late father, something broke inside me. I left the room in silence. I stepped outside. I took a deep breath of the cold air, and I made a life-changing decision. My name is Amy Stamper, a 29-year-old stay-at-home wife. I currently live with my husband Nathan, who's 3 years younger than me, in a house in the suburbs. I first met Nathan at a wedding of a mutual friend. I wasn't particularly close to the bride, but she insisted I come, so I couldn't refuse. Since we didn't share many friends, it was more like I was there to make up the numbers. I went quietly congratulating the bride while chatting politely with the other guests. After the reception, I was about to head home when someone called out to me from behind. "Excuse me, could I talk to you for a moment?" Surprised, I turned around to see a young man out of breath, Nathan. Though his sudden approach startled me, his sincerity persuaded me to stay. At first, I didn't see him as a romantic prospect. After all, he was 3 years younger, which felt too young for me at the time. Unaware of my hesitation, Nathan enthusiastically shared many things about himself. He worked at a securities firm and aimed to move into management. His youthful ambition and drive felt refreshing, and I gradually became interested in him. From that day, Nathan started reaching out more frequently. At first, we'd go for casual dinners or movies, but his steady interest never wavered. Although I felt uneasy about our age gap, his sincerity gradually won me over. Nathan was sensitive to my feelings, always taking things at my pace without pressuring me. Then one day, he confessed his feelings in a serious tone. "Amy, I know you're concerned about our age difference, but you're the one I want. No matter our age or how far apart we are, I want to be with you." His words went beyond simple affection, showing a genuine commitment to our future together. In that moment, the age barrier I had put up crumbled. Nathan's determination moved me deeply. We started dating, and 6 months later, he proposed. I accepted his proposal without hesitation. I could clearly see a future with him. Marrying Nathan marked a significant turning point in my life. With marriage, I transitioned to being a stay-at-home wife, and my life changed drastically. The biggest change was moving in with my in-laws, as we began living in Nathan's childhood home. Living with us were Nathan's mother, Emma, a stay-at-home mom, and his younger sister, Mary, a college sophomore. Initially, we planned to find a place of our own, but soon after, Nathan suggested we live with his family. Nathan's father had passed away a few years prior, leaving his mother and sister to manage the home alone. Though independent, they both struggled with the absence of a steady presence in the home. As the eldest son, Nathan felt it was his duty to step up and support them. His dedication to his family made a strong impression on me. Though I had reservations, I respected Nathan's wishes and agreed to live with his family. I wanted to support Nathan's desire to care for his family, and I believed building connections with his family was important for our future together. Living with Nathan's family took some adjustment, but gradually I settled into the new routine. Nathan made an effort to support me, balancing his busy work schedule while helping me communicate with his family. Yet despite this, I often felt a heavy weight in my heart, especially when interacting with my mother-in-law, Emma. Emma, now in her 60s, was generally cheerful and friendly, but her comments often had a sharp edge. She would say things in a lighthearted tone, yet I couldn't help but feel a sting each time. At first, it was over something minor as dinner. One evening, I decided to try a new recipe, hoping the family would enjoy it. Nathan and Mary often complimented my cooking, so I thought a fresh twist would be welcome. But Emma's reaction took me by surprise. "This soup isn't as good as usual." She frowned slightly and put down her spoon. My whole body tensed. "Oh, I'm sorry. I tried a different seasoning. Did it not taste right?" I smiled, trying to brush it off, but deep down, I was filled with worry. Emma continued in her usual light-hearted tone.
No, it doesn't suit my taste. I think your usual light soup is better. I thought you were supposed to be a good cook, but maybe your creativity is lacking.
I'm still learning. I kept a bright expression, but her words left a dull ache in my heart. Though Emma didn't mean it unkindly, I couldn't shake the hurt each time she made these remarks.
I'm the straightforward type, so please don't take it the wrong way.
She would say this often, unaware of how much her words affected me. One evening, I shared my feelings with Nathan after he came home from work. Your mom can be really harsh sometimes. I know she doesn't mean any harm, but it still gets me down. Nathan considered my words, then tried to reassure me gently. That's just how she is. She may come across strong, but she genuinely relies on you, which is why she says those things. His words helped a little, but the uncertainty in my heart didn't fully lift. I often wondered if I would ever find a way to connect with Emma without feeling overwhelmed by her comments. Living with Emma was challenging enough, but there was someone else who often tested my patience, Mary, Nathan's sister. At 20, Mary was bright and cheerful, often filling the house with her lively personality. However, her playful pranks were sometimes more than I could handle. Shortly after moving in, I realized how mischievous she could be. One day, while I was folding laundry, a sudden, ear-piercing bang sounded behind me. Startled, I let out a scream, only to turn around and see Mary grinning with a confetti popper in her hands.
Did I surprise you?
You think? My heart nearly stopped. Please don't do that.
Well, I don't know. Your reaction was hilarious, though.
I tried to protest, but Mary just giggled, clearly amused by her prank. Her antics continued over time. She would switch off the bathroom lights while I was showering, or surprise me with fake bugs. The worst prank happened when she pretended Nathan had been in a car accident. With a solemn expression, she handed me her phone and told me in a somber voice,
Amy, the police just called. They said my brother was hit by a truck and is in the hospital.
What? That can't be. Hello? Hello?
This is Amy, Nathan's wife. I heard my husband was in an accident.
But there was only silence on the other end, followed by uproarious laughter. I turned around to see Mary clutching her stomach in hysterics.
Amy, you really thought it was real? Seriously? As if the police would call me first.
Wait, all of this was a joke?
Yeah, joke's on you.
She laughed as I sank to my knees, overwhelmed by relief and disbelief. That evening, I finally confided in Nathan about Mary's pranks. Nathan, Mary's pranks are getting to be too much. Today, she pretended you were in an accident. An accident? Mary did that? I'll talk to her, but honestly, that's just how she's always been. Nathan laughed it off, though I could hardly see the humor. In that moment, I realized he wasn't going to take my concerns seriously. Realizing I couldn't rely on Nathan to address Mary's antics, I resolved to find my own ways to cope with her behavior. One day, a major disaster struck a neighboring town. The news covered scenes of destroyed homes, closed roads, and people huddled in shelters. Watching these heart-wrenching images, I felt a wave of sadness and sympathy. But Nathan's reaction was a shock. Whoa, this looks like a movie set. They really got some good shots here. I stared at him in disbelief, unable to comprehend his detached response. And then, Emma chimed in with a casual comment that left me speechless.
Wish it would flood around here so we could get insurance money and rebuild the house.
My heart sank even further as I watched their indifference to the real suffering happening around us. Mary joining the conversation threw out her own absurd ideas.
If we're rebuilding, let's make it a 3-story mansion with a pool and a barbecue area. Wouldn't that be great?
Don't get ahead of yourself, Mary. Maybe start with a basic emergency kit instead. Food prices might go up, you know.
Emergency supplies? How boring.
Sitting there, listening to their nonchalant chatter, I felt hollow. To them, this disaster was merely an inconvenience or a distant event. While I couldn't stop thinking about the people who had lost everything, just as I was coming to terms with the vast difference between us, I received a devastating phone call. My father had passed away. It felt surreal. He had been ill, but his passing came far too soon.
At his funeral, I barely spoke, clinging to my mother as she wept uncontrollably. My older brother Mike took charge of the arrangements, guiding us all through the overwhelming grief. Nathan and his family attended, but I noticed they only stayed on the sidelines, treating it as if it were merely another obligation. The grief of losing my father was already unbearable. What happened afterward broke me completely. When I finally returned home, drained emotionally and physically, I heard voices from the living room. Nathan, Emma, and Mary were laughing and chatting as if it were any other day.
So, Amy's dad must have left her some decent inheritance, right?
The casual way he spoke about my father's passing left me frozen in the hallway. She's probably inheriting some property at least. Talk to her brother, Nathan. Make sure she gets a good share. Imagine how easy life would be with that rental income. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Forget managing properties. Why not use this money for something fun? I've always wanted to go on a world cruise. We could do it, right?
Actually, yeah, that sounds great. And I'd love to finally book first-class flights.
Let's go all out. I'll book the best hotels. Their callous conversation left me feeling numb. My father had just passed, and all they could think about was what his death could mean for them financially. But Nathan's next words cut deeper than anything else.
If only Amy would pass away too. Then all that money would be mine, and I'd be set for life.
Mary gasped, then giggled. Oh my God, Nathan, that's so awful. Well, he is right. He'll likely outlive her anyway. That's the perk of marrying an older woman.
Exactly. I took in a woman past her prime. A little reward wouldn't hurt.
I felt something inside me crumble, and a cold clarity took over. Without a word, I turned and walked out the door, inhaling the crisp night air to calm myself. But no amount of deep breathing could dispel the heavy feeling of betrayal and loss. I had tried to make things work, to respect Nathan's family for his sake. I had endured Emma's cutting remarks and Mary's relentless pranks. But this, listening to them plot to use my father's death for personal gain, and to suggest that I was merely a financial asset, I couldn't accept it. With the clearest resolve I'd ever felt, I realized that I couldn't continue living in this house. I had to leave Nathan and his family, for my own peace and my father's memory. Not knowing where else to go, I found myself at the train station, phone in hand. My brother Mike was the only person I trusted, the only one who might understand. Taking a deep breath, I sent him a message. Mike, I need to come home. Can we talk? After sending the message, I felt a small sense of relief, a glimmer of hope. A few moments later, Mike replied, his words lifting a weight off my shoulders.
Of course, Amy. Come home whenever you need. I'm here.
Tears filled my eyes as I read his response. With Mike's support, I knew I could finally face the truth. The next day, I returned to Nathan's family home one last time, this time accompanied by Mike. I had told Mike everything the previous night about Nathan's family's heartless comments, their constant disrespect, and my decision to leave. Mike listened without interruption, nodding in understanding and encouraging me to make whatever choice would bring me peace. Now, standing at the front door, with him beside me, I felt a strength I hadn't felt in a long time.
Amy, remember, this is your life. Just say what you need to say, and we'll leave together.
Thank you, Mike. I rang the doorbell, and Nathan opened it, visibly surprised to see us standing there together.
Amy, Mike, what's going on?
I took a deep breath, and steadying my voice, spoke directly to Nathan. Nathan, I can't live like this anymore. I want a divorce. The room fell silent. Nathan looked at me in shock, processing my words.
Wait, what? Divorce? Where is this coming from?
I overheard your conversation last night about my father's inheritance. I've been trying for so long to be a part of this family, but last night was too much. You showed me that I'm just a means to an end for you, nothing more. Nathan looked around uncomfortably, clearly grasping the severity of the situation. Now wait a minute, Amy. You've misunderstood. We were only joking last night. There was no harm meant in what we said. Surely you're overreacting. Yeah, you just lost your dad. Maybe you're not thinking straight. Their excuses sounded hollow, and I could feel Mike bristle beside me. Whether you were joking or not, your words cut deep. I can't stay in a family that treats me and my father's memory this way. Nathan turned to me with desperation in his eyes, reaching for any way to salvage the situation.
Amy, please don't do this. We can talk it out. I didn't mean anything by it.
But I felt nothing for him anymore. No attachment, no sympathy. At that moment, Mike intervened.
Nathan, Amy has made up her mind. Trying to convince her otherwise is pointless. Also, as you know, I'll be taking over my father's company. This means I'll be ending our business relationship as well. What? But we can keep business and personal life separate, can't we? Business relationships are built on trust, and right now, there's none left to give.
Nathan was speechless, his face paling as he realized the weight of Mike's words. For years, my father had trusted Nathan's firm to manage our family's finances. Now, that trust was irrevocably broken. Mike continued with calm confidence, underscoring the finality of his decision.
We'll be moving all our assets to a different firm. I'll have the paperwork sent to you this week.
Nathan, visibly distressed, looked from Mike to me, panic flashing across his face.
Amy, please, I can't lose you, or this account.
It's too late, Nathan. My decision is final. I deserve a life with respect and peace. Goodbye. I turned and walked away, not looking back, knowing that this was the start of a new chapter. In the weeks that followed, Mike helped me finalize the divorce, bringing closure to a painful part of my life. Nathan, stripped of his business account and abandoned by his family, suffered the consequences of his actions. His company reputation took a hit, and he was reassigned to a small branch far from the city. Emma and Mary also faced consequences. Expecting a windfall from my father's estate, they had spent extravagantly, only to find themselves in debt. Unable to repay the loans they'd taken, Emma was forced to work part-time, a shock for a woman who had never worked a day outside her home. Meanwhile, I had started rebuilding my life, feeling more confident than ever. I was reconnected with an old manager from a previous job who offered me a position back in the workforce. Grateful for the opportunity, I accepted. It felt like fate, giving me a fresh start just when I needed it most. I finally felt free to live on my own terms and build a future filled with happiness and dignity. This was the beginning of a new journey, one that I would walk with a clear heart, grateful for the family that truly stood by me.